Give him a little pet. Oh, look at him. Oh, I'm taking a video, yeah. So cute, so small. Look at this. Bonjour, hello. That's amazing. Alrighty guys, setting off on the Tiger 900 Rally Pro. So this video is going to be a lot of raw footage, so I'm going to collect as much information as possible. There's going to be the detailed video coming out before this one, so this video is going to be my kind of raw first impressions of the motorcycle. Gotta love a good old Triumph quick shifter. Works great. So one of the most distinct features out of this Triumph motorcycle is the T-plane crank, as they call it. So this Triumph has a brand new firing order, which gives it a really different kind of barky tone to it than other triples that I've ridden, especially different compared to my 675R. It feels way more raspy, way more grunty than the 675 engine or even the street triple mill. This reminds me much more of the 1050, the speed triple engine, than it does the 675 or even the 765. And this works really great because in an adventure bike in this kind of platform, you'd want something with more low-down grunt, with more appeal in that way. It's got a great amount of low-end grunt, man. 900cc triple is a great engine. Even though this doesn't make as much peak power as something else, like, I don't know, the KTM 790 Adventure, I think, like, makes about as much peak power as this. But the thing is, this has way more low-down grunt than something like that. So yeah, overall, man, I'm really, really impressed with how refined this bike is. It feels extremely polished and put together. The new technology doesn't seem intrusive, as I've seen yet. Basically, so yeah, it doesn't seem like the tech is that intrusive. It seems to run like a pretty normal motorcycle, which is great. You don't want something that feels like a big smartphone, even though this thing does kind of feel like a bit of a big smartphone right now. We're cruising along here, 80 kph, fourth gear, and it just cruises, man. Cruises nice and easy, fourth gear. This bike's also equipped with Triumph's auto blip downshift as well, which is an added feature for this motorcycle over the outgoing 800. Works really, really well. I love a good quick shifter, and the auto blip on here is working really well and doing its job, so nice feature to add. Dicing it up here in Morocco, baby. It was fun. Picking up some speed here, going about 100 kph right now, and the Tiger just feels that really refined motorcycle. You know, this just feels like an incredibly refined and easygoing bike. Alrighty guys, back aboard the Triumph 900, Tiger 900 rather, the Triumph Tiger 900, please, let's get the name right. I've spent about an hour and a half on this motorcycle, making it up on a pretty, I guess like a regular stretch of road here in Marrakesh. It's pretty, like, you know, chill, straight, kind of bumpy, you know, just trying to make our progress into these wonderful mountains that you see in front of us. And it's pretty exciting, man, I gotta say. This is a really, really exciting motorcycle. I think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of different types of people. And this rally one in particular is really cool. This 21-inch wheel that it has at the front of it just works super well. I really like the way it rolls over bumps. You know, I really like the way that this motorcycle feels going down the road. Yeah, so among these lead riders, we've got a 4-time Enduro champion. We've got a former Isle of Man TT guy. So lots of talent here in both the front and the back of the group, sweeping and leading it, which is pretty badass. But I've been told they're going to set a sensible pace. No one's going to be doing, you know, triple-digit speeds here, especially on these types of roads. It is awesome, though, man. This bike's suspension settings and just the way, I mean, and it's so cool, too. I mean, it's not electronically adjustable, so you can't, like, on the fly change it or whatever. But, man, even going down these types of road, a little bit of gravel here, it's just, it feels so composed, so stable. And I think that's due to the fact that it has, you know, these new, like, just the dimensions of it, the fact that the engine is positioned a little bit differently, the fact that this motorcycle is set up a little bit nicer to go off-road. And that was definitely not off-road back there. That was just a little bit of gravel, but you can just tell the type of intention that this bike has. It doesn't feel unsettled in these types of conditions. It feels extremely stable. Standing up here on the Tiger 900, I really like the position of the handlebars. I'm about 6 feet tall. My arms are, I would say, like a pretty normal length, and it doesn't really feel like too different than my desert sled. It feels really comfortable to stand up on it. It feels really easy to reach to the shifter, click up a gear while you're standing, and just keep moseying on your way. I'm in 4th gear right now, doing about 82 kilometers per hour according to the TFT, and it feels really awesome to just stand up on this thing, man. You can really easily just command the motorcycle. But then when you want to, you just sit back down, and it's a really chill riding position, and you're not going to be stressed over it at all. Going back to the point we want to make, for the big review video of it, because this is going to be more the casual vlog on the bike, I think this bike makes so much sense as a second motorcycle if you're looking to step into that adventure category, the commuter category. This is such a good all-around bike if you're not that interested in sport bike riding. If you don't care about hitting the twisties, if you don't really care about, top speeds and massive acceleration, if what you care about is stuff like this, like seeing the beautiful scenery and taking it all in and traveling there, these kind of bikes make so much sense. Another thing to keep in mind as well is this motorcycle, even though it is a 900cc, for all of my international viewers out there, you can get the Tiger 900 in an A2 compliant power restriction. From the factory, from the dealership, you can buy this bike A2 restricted, so those of you who are on your A2 licenses can ride this motorcycle and have a great time. So you could be, under 24 years old and still feel all the big boy adventure vibe from the Tiger, but not have to, get a huge motorcycle. That's the other story for me as well. This bike doesn't feel that big, which is so cool. I love the middleweight adventure segment. I think it's the perfect spot for these types of bikes. I've ridden a couple big BMW GS's, and I gotta say, they just feel like tanks. I'm not a huge fan of them. This, I think, is the perfect sweet spot. Your 790 Adventure, your Tenere 700, Tiger 900, that's where, these bikes are awesome. I really like this style of adventure bike. Speaking of those kind of competitors, I don't really think the Tiger 900, this market is so interesting because its most direct competitor is definitely the KTM 790 Adventure. In our full review video, we're definitely going to go into a deeper dive on each of those motorcycles and try to understand which one is better price-wise, features-wise, etc. But this bike, I think priced at 16 grand, does a good job of bringing you a lot of those top-end features without dipping into the $20,000 price point that a lot of adventure bikes are starting to get up towards. I think this bike makes a lot of sense, man. It makes a lot of sense. And let me look at these views, man. This is... You can't really argue with the power of the SUV of motorcycles. I've got heated grips, I've got a windshield, I've got extremely comfortable rider triangle, I've got, all kinds of good stuff here that makes for a great adventure, both on and off pavement. And one thing I do want to mention about the off-road capabilities of this bike, guys. So, I know that a lot of you are diehard dirt bike guys. If it weighs anything more than 240 pounds, you consider it a big old pig. And I love seeing the enthusiasm in the comment section. But this is not a motorcycle that a mere mortal would take down a single track. It is extremely heavy to try to take down a single track. You probably have a tough time managing this motorcycle down a really tight trail if you are a beginner kind of off-road rider such as myself. I'm not extremely skilled in off-road riding, definitely not my forte. I'm much more skilled and experienced in track days and road riding, but the small amount that I've done off-road, I've taken my desert sled actually down towards some... that was super cool, just seeing the kids getting stoked on the bikes. I've taken my desert sled down a couple single tracks and trails and that kind of stuff, and that's a big bike, man. That bike weighs about 25 or 30 pounds less than this motorcycle, but I gotta say, this bike's setup, because it has these 21-inch wheels and because it has this, more like capable suspension and just better setup overall for off-roading, I would feel more confident taking this motorcycle down some tighter, nastier stuff than I would my desert sled. But again, guys, a bike that weighs, I think they're claiming 430 dry, which for some reason Triumph always does the dry measurements. It's a heavy bike to be picking up on the trail. So I would stick to fire roads, gravel roads, maybe forested trail roads that you can easily manage, two-way, streets that you can or rather two-way trails that you can take this down. Definitely would not chuck it down a single track unless you are very gifted off-road, which a lot of us are not. Yeah, this 900cc engine got loads of low-down grunt. I really like the flavor and character of this T-plane crank. It's really different. It doesn't really feel like a triple in the low revs. And also, hats off to Triumph. This route is so cool and is exactly the type of riding that you would be doing with this Tiger 900, right? You'd be crossing, a couple sheep and being on a road that probably is a little bit nastier than you're used to in your hometown. But again, you're not going to be taking it down anything crazy. It's so cool seeing the kids hyped up here, man. It's so badass. This is a fun motorcycle, man. I think that's... I really like how playful it is. It doesn't really feel like a big adventure bike. It feels almost like a naked bike with some long travel suspension. I actually really like that, because on the road it feels really playful. And again, if you're buying one of these bikes, you're probably going to spend like 90% of your time on pavement. It's kind of like, I don't know, adventure bikes are kind of like the Jeep Wranglers of the world, where like, yeah, they can go off-road, but like most people spend the majority of the time on-road. But the features that make this thing a great tour and a great commuter help it off-road and help it be a bike that you want to smack down miles with. So again, if you're looking at this segment and kind of thinking about adventure bikes, if they've always interested you, this is a really cool option. It's definitely premium priced. Again, like around $16,000 for this motorcycle. Out the door, you're probably looking close to $17,000, to be honest. And that's a lot, man. That's a lot of money for a bike. So I think, budget conscious viewers who still want middleweight adventure fun, Tenere 700 is the way to go. I would love to take a rip on one of those. I think it'd be so fun to try out a Tenere 700. We'll stand up, of course. Turn our blinker off. Click it up into second gear and pick up some speed here. So this is the type of riding that I think adventure bikes excel at. You'll see in the brochures and you'll see in a lot of stuff in the marketing materials that, people are taking these down some jumps, crazy stuff. Guys, unless you're a really experienced rider, it's very difficult to take such a big motorcycle and, throw it down some crazy trails like that. This is realistically the kind of riding that, the 10% of Tiger 900 owners that are taking off-road are going to do it on. I get a lot of comments on my desert sled videos of people basically being like, man, it's crazy what you're doing with that bike. It's really not that extreme. I do this kind of stuff with it, really. Nothing too crazy. Just having a good time gooning around on some fire roads and gravel roads like this. Because you get to experience some slip and play, but it's nothing too crazy. Our group leader, Keith, is an incredible rider, man. We were just doing this little water crossing, and he just blasted through the water crossing and then just basically roasted the rear tire all the way up this little hill. Really amazing riding by our group leader. But yeah, stuff like this is really fun on these bikes because they're comfortable, they're big, they're commanding, and so going down a little gravel road like this is really fun. The thing is, basically any bike is capable of doing this type of stuff, but the thing that really changes when you get on an adventure bike and do this kind of stuff is it's just a little more comfortable, a little bit more fun to do this on. Got a little bit of a rock garden here. It's so similar to Hidden Falls Adventure Park where I take the Scrambler. Really dry, really rocky, kind of baby heads everywhere. Really manageable. And it's a great test for the suspension on this bike, It's equipped with these big Showa front forks, so, it's definitely trying to do some fun off-roading type of stuff. We're gonna shut up here and pay attention. Wow, it's handling these bumps incredibly well. This is actually really impressive what it's doing. All good.
Okay, no problems? All good? I'm good, yeah. This is what it's like. I just check if it's okay.
Let's get those arms up a little bit, huh? Let's try to remember our off-road videos that we've seen. I'm so bad at this stuff. Oh my god. It's laughable how bad I am. But again, this is the application I see most people owning this bike doing. You know, these are the kind of roads that you would definitely want to take on this type of bike. If you are truly brave, you can take it down some single track, but man, that would be crazy. Because if you drop it, man, you're just... Right through here, we'll sit down, conserve some energy. Mindful of this rut right here. Oh man, boy, am I glad that we did some off-roading in the sled before we try to tackle this stuff, man. If this was my first foray into off-roading, I nearly fell. If this is my first foray into off-roading, that would have been tough, huh? But yeah, factory setting, off-road mode, for me, a rider who's about 6 feet tall, about 170 pounds, working really well. I like it. Clearing up here, you can carry a little more speed. Much like the track, always look ahead. Whole lot easier if you just look ahead and just take it all in, man. It feels great, honestly. Over some of this bumpier, ruddier kind of stuff, I really, really like it. As you can tell, in off-road mode, it'll let you kind of slide the rear wheel and play with it a little bit, which is awesome. But then the electronics come in and save you if you do something dumb. Whoa! Dab it a little bit, save it, we're good. Click it up in a second, pick up speed a little bit, you'll fly over this stuff. Easy peasy. But not too easy, because then I'll get complacent and I'll fucking bin this bike. For sure, dude. So what do you guys think? Any ADV boys in the comment section below thinking about getting a Tiger 900? It's a cool bike, man. It's got some stiff competition. The KTM 790 Adventure is a cool bike, and I know it's getting a lot of good press and people really like that bike. Ooh, I forgot how much work off-road riding is. Off-road, we're barely off-road. Off-piste, right? I have to remember to put my weight in the opposite spot that I normally would for track day stuff. When you take these corners, you want to be outside over here. It's the most unnatural feeling. So again, guys, totally not an off-road pro, as you can tell. Track days are definitely more of my thing. But we're having fun here, man. I think it really says something about the Tiger 900 that someone with my skill set can jump out and have some fun with it, you know? Just goofing around with it, having a good time. I think this is our photography crew here. Remind me your name again? Remind me your name again? Keith? Okay, I got it right. Yeah, I was mentioning in the video how good of a rider you are, and I was like, I think it's Keith, but let's make sure. You're welcome, yeah. Alrighty guys, heading out of our hotel here on the coast of Africa. I forgot the name of this town. And now we're on the GT Pro. So this is your more road-focused Triumph Tiger 900. As you guys saw in my comprehensive review, this motorcycle comes in two really distinct flavors. One is this GT Pro, and then the other is the Rally Pro. Both have non-pro versions, but we were only given the pros to test on this event. And yeah, man, this thing really just feels like a little, you know, V-Strom, a sport touring type of machine. As I mentioned in my comprehensive review, I wouldn't really bother with the Triumph Tiger GT, honestly. I think that if you were going to get a Tiger 900, you should really get the Rally. I don't understand why you wouldn't get the Rally, because it just offers you more capability, just offers you a little bit more wider breadth of experience on the motorcycle. So that would be the one I would get if it were my money. But this is a really good bike. If you have zero intentions of going off-road and you are actually really honest with yourself about what you really want out of a motorcycle, this is your premium commuter machine, dude. This thing is sick. if what you want is a bike that is going to get you from A to B in style and comfort, the Tiger 900 GT is a great option. I thought I was going slow. This bike is in miles per hour instead of kilometers, and I was like, how am I only doing 70 k's an hour right now? But I look down, it's actually in miles. That's funny. So yeah, this is a really nice bike to ride down the road. Really comfortable commuting sort of bike. I got the heated grips on right now. Got my tall windscreen. I am riding in style, man. These sport touring machines are really, really nice for this kind of stuff. They start to kind of fall apart when the going gets really twisty or tough, and you kind of want to have some more fun with them. You know, they become a little bit lackluster. Look at the grunt from that triple, though. So since this is a press bike, this is the stock can on the motorcycle, but I find that Triumph's exhaust notes are pretty good from factory. They managed to make them really distinctive and really barky from the factory, and just add a lot to the experience of riding this bike. Really, really cool machine. But yet you truly notice those, even though you know, the front wheel on this is a 19 versus the 21 inch on the Rally, but you really notice how this just feels like a much smaller, much nimbler, tinier, sportier kind of bike. Front suspension obviously is very different as well. This is a Marzocchi front end with smaller forks than the Showa big piston forks that are found in the Rally Pro. Sorry, there's a situation happening here. So yeah, the GT going down the road, just, man, what a phenomenally nice sport touring machine. I will say, even though the new Tiger 900 has that T-plane crank, that more distinctive triple throaty sound with that new firing order, low down with the, you know, quick shifter, it can feel a little robotic. It does feel a little, you know, those speed cameras? I think we're fucked. If that's the case. So yeah, the triple does sound a little, you know, if you're clicking it up through the gears quickly through, you know, the low revs, it does sound a little, you know, robotic, kind of too precise in a way. But once you start really wicking the throttle and playing with it, it's really cool. It's super barky and throaty. I think the thing that sticks out to me about this motorcycle is just, you know, it's incredibly refined. It's an expensive bike, which is why it's so refined. Bikes have gotten so good nowadays. Like this thing, with all of its tech and features and the way it goes down the road, it just feels so dang premium, man. I really like it. Because it has that bump in displacement, the 900cc, or rather 888cc engine, which honestly, I know they called it the Tiger 900, but they could have really called it the Tiger 888. That would have been pretty sweet if they called it that. That would have been a cool move. The new Tiger 888. Man, that would have been sick. I like that name more than the Tiger 900. Triumph hired me as head of marketing now. Now, one thing that is a little frustrating about this bike is those different rider modes and those different electronics. If you select something, whenever you turn off the bike and turn it back on, it resets back to road mode for some reason. It doesn't stay where you put it. So if you turn off the bike, you have to reset whatever mode you were in originally. And that is frustrating, especially if you're out on the trail, you know, trying to have some fun with the bike. You're probably going to be stopping and starting a little bit, you know, depending on if you're stalling or not. And it just makes for a motorcycle that is it's annoying in a way that it doesn't need to be. Nothing like a triple. So fun. Let's see if we can put it in sport mode. I actually don't know what mode I'm in right now. Let's go to sport. Throttle close. Put it in. Please wait. We're in sport mode now, which is cool. Do we get any extra punch? Yeah, kinda. It is so funny though, like you can tell it's a triple, but at the same time, it's giving you kind of, you know, twin, big parallel twin vibes. It is such a unique engine. Yeah. For this application, I think it works really, really well. I wouldn't really want this engine in a sport bike, at least not the way that it's set up right now. Certainly you could make it rev higher and, you know, give it characteristics that you'd want in a sport bike, but from the saddle that I'm sitting in right now, this engine would feel kind of strange in a sport bike. I don't know if it would be the best thing. Yeah, one thing that I also found a little weird about the Tiger 900 is the TFT is, it's really, you can read it super well. Like, I give a quick glance down and I know exactly what my speed is, but the tachometer is just, you know, in this configuration, this kind of 3D mode that it's in, I don't really think that's a good thing. It's a bit strange, and I don't really like it too much. But it does work really well. I mean, you're looking down and you can see the information you need right away. Let's see if we can maybe change the display in real time here. I don't think you can. But I'll give it a try with my bad right hand. If I press home, what does it do? No, it won't let me go home while I'm in motion. If I close the throttle, no, I think you can only press home when you are actually stopped and not in motion, which is good. You don't want to be pressing home and fiddling around with your features while you're going down the road. I will say another slight note is I find these mirrors to look a little cheap for this bike. This is not really what you'd expect to see on a $14,000-$15,000 motorcycle like this GT is, and certainly not on the $16,000 Rally Pro. This is, you know, it works and it does the job, but it's not a mirror that matches the look of this bike. Headlights on this bike look so sick though. Those new DRLs and the new shape. I love Triumph's new design language that they're putting out with this Tiger 900 and the new Street Triple 765 and the brand new 2020 Street Triple RS. Super cool aesthetic. I really like the design language they're putting out there. You know, the one thing I don't like about these auto blip downshifters is you don't get a satisfying kind of blip of the throttle when you downshift. It just kind of plunks into gear. I don't love that, honestly. I think this bike would do a lot better to not have a downshift assist feature. I feel that whenever you have the downshift assist feature, it it ends up feeling just like a big scooter. I don't really love it. I think it works super well if you are on a racetrack, if you're trying to maximize your compression of your shift points while braking, and you don't want to think about rev matching and doing all of that. Just maximize that braking force and, you know, really focus on that. Great. I don't really think it makes sense on this bike to have an auto blip downshifter, but at the same time, you know, you have a motorcycle that's competing with bikes that all have auto blip downshifters, so for them, from a business perspective, it would make zero sense to not include an auto blip down. But I don't love it. I personally don't like the auto blip down. You can shift down without using it, and I think it'll do the same thing if I check here. Probably. Let's see here. It's downshift to fourth. Yeah, you can. It feels a little funny, but you can, because once you press down on the shifter, you know, that mechanism that's engaging the ignition and all that, and that's checking for when you're pressing down on it, you know, is going to activate. So it feels a little funny, but you can do it. You can downshift manually.